I feel uncomfortable about how friendly my husband and my sister have been with one another. My husband and I have been married for 2 years but together for 14. After we got married, my sister visited us often, and I feel like they've gotten very friendly in their interactions. At first, I was glad that they got along well. It makes sense, they're kind of similar in their personality and sense of humor, so it makes sense that they would click. But lately I noticed that they seem to have their own inside jokes, like we would all, me, my husband, my sister and my other siblings, be sitting together and talking, and somebody would say something that one of them thought was funny, and that person would look to the other and laugh over the joke that no one else understood. They would explain if I asked what they were laughing about, but after a few times, I just started to feel weirdly left out, like they had something special that I wasn't a part of. They would also text, and it's all just funny back and forth banter, memes, he showed me, and normal day-to-day stuff. There's nothing unusual about those texts, but it bothered me all the same. When we all eat together, he would take food from the big sharing/serving plate and give it to me. We're Chinese, but also to her, just in an offhand way, and I know he's probably just being nice and caring and not really thinking too much about it. He would tease her about stuff, which in itself should be fine because he teases everyone, it's his sense of humor, and she would reply with some witty retort or sometimes playfully kick or hit him on the arm, which she also does with me and other people, but for some reason, it bothers me when she does it to him. They're both just being themselves, doing things that I've seen them also do with other people. I know there is nothing going on, and I know they love me and would never hurt me intentionally, but I just am. I feel hurt, jealous and a little betrayed, and I hate myself for feeling like this, because it feels petty. I have brought this up with my husband, and he has explained that he's just being friendly, but that he would stop and minimize his interactions with her if I'd like, because it'd be the same to him either way, and what's most important to him is that I'm happy. He was very kind about it, but I'm hesitant to say yes, and to ask my sister to do the same, because I fear that it'll make things awkward for them, because we see our families, both mine and his, and hang out very often, but also because I can't seem to shake the idea that I'm being immature and unfair. My husband is part of the family now, so of course he will and should form relationships with other members of the family. It's not for me to dictate how other people form bonds with others, and it's ridiculous to think I can. Their texts and interactions are harmless and friendly in nature. I cannot think of a valid reason to justify asking them to change how they interact, and I feel crazy for feeling the way I do, like an excessively jealous and possessive lover. I've never thought of myself as particularly jealous and possessive, and I'm startled by how I am reacting to all this. I don't know what's become of me. I have been trying to get over it by myself, and it's been a year and it still bothers me, albeit on and off. Sometimes I would make it through a whole gathering without feeling particularly uncomfortable about their interactions. Other times I would notice something and it would trigger the same spiral in my head, like last weekend, and it's always such tiny things, too. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little and I hate myself for this. I feel like I'm going to ruin it for everyone by being like this, and I don't know what to do. Let me analyze this story for you. This story is a delicate, emotionally layered account of a woman grappling with the complex intersection of love, loyalty, insecurity, and familial bonds. On the surface, nothing overtly threatening or inappropriate has occurred. There are no secret rendezvous, no suggestive texts, no signs of betrayal in the traditional sense. And yet, beneath that calm exterior lies a growing unease that refuses to be rationalized away. The narrator's discomfort isn't about infidelity in the usual sense, but rather the quiet, ambiguous kind of closeness between her husband and her sister that seems, in moments, to exclude her. And this exclusion, subtle as it may be, cuts deep. What unfolds is not so much a confrontation with betrayal, but a confrontation with her own vulnerability, one that has crept up slowly, uninvited, and taken root in the space where trust once sat comfortably. The emotional complexity of this story lies in the narrator's self-awareness. She knows, intellectually, that there's likely nothing wrong. She knows that her husband loves her deeply, as evidenced by his immediate willingness to adjust his behavior for her sake. She knows that her sister has no malicious intent. She knows that their interactions are visible, open, even ordinary on paper, shared jokes, friendly teasing, memes. And yet, she cannot ignore the gnawing feeling that something about it all feels off, not dangerous or scandalous, just off. This discomfort isn't driven by jealousy in the traditional, possessive sense. It's something quieter, more insidious, the fear of emotional displacement. It's the subtle ache of watching two people you love form a connection that you're not entirely a part of, and not knowing what that says about your place in their lives. Her reaction is deeply human. When she observes her husband and sister share an inside joke or pass a knowing glance, it stings, not because she suspects something is happening, but because she fears she is being left out of something intimate. This fear of being left behind emotionally, of being replaceable in small, unnoticed ways, is often more destabilizing than the fear of outright betrayal. The narrator's turmoil is compounded by the fact that she knows her feelings may be irrational, which only leads to shame, self-doubt, and emotional spiraling. She criticizes herself harshly for having what she deems petty emotions, labeling herself immature, jealous, even crazy, despite the reality that emotional responses like hers are natural and often involuntary. This self-reproach makes her suffering even harder to manage, because she's not only hurt, she feels guilty for being hurt. What makes this story particularly poignant is the tension between what the narrator believes she should feel and what she actually does feel. She wants to be evolved, trusting, understanding. She wants to encourage meaningful relationships within her family. She wants to be the kind of partner who doesn't get rattled by harmless banter or physical closeness. But emotional safety is not built on ideals, it's built on felt experience. And what she feels, over and over again, is excluded. Not in big ways. Not in ways that anyone else would notice. But in small, persistent ways that wear down her sense of belonging. Importantly, her husband's response is not defensive or dismissive. He validates her feelings and offers to change his behavior, which reveals a strong foundation of empathy and commitment. But even this generous response doesn't fully resolve the narrator's dilemma because her fear is not rooted in his intentions, but in her own emotional fragility. She worries that asking him or her sister to change will come off as controlling or unreasonable, which leaves her caught in a trap. Either she tolerates a dynamic that causes her pain, or she risks alienating the two people she cares about most. That's an impossible position to be in, and it's no wonder that, after a year of trying to get over it, she still finds herself emotionally stuck. At its core, this story is about emotional boundaries and the invisible lines between closeness and discomfort. It's about the slow erosion of confidence when you feel like an outsider in your own life. It's about how hard it is to advocate for yourself when your pain isn't obvious or easily explained. And perhaps most powerfully, it's about the hidden grief of realizing that even in relationships filled with love and good intentions, emotional harm can still happen. Not because anyone is doing something wrong, but because human connections are messy, layered, and sometimes painfully misaligned. The narrator's fear of ruining it for everyone is telling. It reflects the burden she carries alone, the way she sees herself as the problem rather than someone in pain. But her story isn't one of dysfunction or delusion. It's the story of someone trying to maintain balance in a world where emotional truths don't always align neatly with facts. She isn't crazy. She isn't weak. She's simply overwhelmed by something that doesn't have a clear label. And that, too, is part of being human. The only path forward may be continued communication, not just with her husband, but with herself, to remind her that her feelings are valid, her needs are real, and it's not selfish to want to feel secure in the relationships that matter most.